All right. Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. For those who I don't know, my name is Keisha Jordan, and I'm Executive Director of Children's Scholarship Fund Philadelphia. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us for our Social Impact Investing webinar here. We're really thrilled to host this panel of accounting and investment experts to share some information about Pennsylvania's educational tax credit programs, which allow individuals and corporations to transform state tax liability into scholarships for kids. So our goal for today is to introduce you to CSFP's mission, if you're not familiar with us, and to demonstrate the impact of scholarships and how easy it is to support CSFP scholarships through tax credits. So whether you are new to the program, as some of you are, or already familiar with it, as some of you already are part of our tax credit program, our panel will be able to provide some additional details. You might learn something new and be able to answer your questions. So for those of you who are new to Children's Scholarship Fund Philadelphia, we provide more than 5,000 Philadelphia students from under-resourced families with scholarships to attend safe, quality, tuition-based kindergarten through 8th grade schools. And last year, 55% of our scholarships were funded through the state tax credit program. So you can understand how important these programs are for funding our scholarships. So in 2021, we are celebrating CSFP's 20th anniversary, and you are among the first to hear that we're getting ready to hit an important milestone. When students return to school this fall, we will have given out more than 30,000 scholarships to Philadelphia kindergarten through 8th graders since we were founded in 2001. And we have our co-founder, Evie McNiff, on the call today, and I know that that is music to her ears to hear the progress that we have made since 2001. CSFP scholarships have provided the financial access for these students to build a strong educational foundation at quality schools that work for them. So just a little housekeeping on some of the terms that we'll be using today. You're going to hear two acronyms throughout the discussion. Both refer to the names of the tax credit programs that allow companies and individuals to receive tax credits when they donate to organizations like ours. So EITC stands for Educational Improvement Tax Credit Program, and OSTC is for Opportunity Scholarship Tax Credit Program. And OSTC is especially relevant to the work that we do because it benefits students living in neighborhoods with the lowest performing Philadelphia public schools, which is where the majority of CSFP families live. So hopefully that gives you a little preview of some of the language you'll hear today. So just a couple of introductions. I'm joined by our CSFP leadership team. We've got Kevin Dow, who is our Vice President of Operations, Julie Rakin, our Senior Vice President of Scholarship and Program Operations. We're also joined by fellow presenter Megan Staples, who is our Director of Development. And I see that our board chair is present, Pat Burke. Thanks for joining us, Pat, today. And so we thank all of our staff and board members and again, our current contributors through the tax credit program for joining us today. So let's get started. I want to start by sharing some data that is going to illustrate first how these tax credit programs set our students up to succeed in high school and beyond. So CSFP serves the families who have the most financial and academic need. 82% of CSFP families live in Philadelphia's lowest performing public school neighborhoods, or school catchment zones as they're called. And this means that without scholarships, these students would be attending low performing schools. Our scholarships are need-based, and families qualify for our scholarships based on income, because again, we seek to serve the families who have the greatest financial need. So the average annual household income for a CSFP family of 4 is $36,195. So those statistics show you our family's needs, but we can also share the success and impact of our program and the strength of our more than 160 diverse partner schools. We're very proud to have longitudinal data that we can share to demonstrate that CSFP students consistently outperform their peers. This year, we saw that CSFP 7th graders perform at or above the national average in both reading and math. And that's really significant because it doesn't just compare our students to Philadelphia students or economically disadvantaged students, but to all students nationally, and they are performing at or above the national average. 93% of CSFP 8th graders go on to attend high schools of choice rather than their default public high school. 98% of CSFP alums graduate high school on time, and that's compared to just 63% at the district level. 94% of CSFP alums take college entrance exams, and that's compared to 45% of all students nationally. And our newest and most exciting news is that 70% of CSFP alums from the class of 2019 enrolled in college. And that's compared to just 54% of students at the school district of Philadelphia and just 28% of students nationally in the same household income range. So this data demonstrates the effectiveness of our scholarships and how scholarships can close the achievement gap for students and help to break the cycle of poverty. So now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel of experts and get the conversation started. So first, Larry Goodman is president of Lemore Goodman, CSFP's accounting firm. CSFP works with Larry to ensure that our individual tax credit members receive the appropriate paperwork to process their credits. Lemore Goodman is also providing support for this program today. So thank you, Larry, and welcome.
Welcome.
Joe Goethe Jr. is a senior accountant with SEI Investments, which is a longtime supporter of CSFP through the tax credit program. Joe has also personally been a longtime friend of and advocate for CSFP. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Keisha. Glad to be here.
And Cliff Haugen is president of BLB&B Advisors, LLC, which is an independent employee-owned financial advisory firm for individuals and organizations. CSFP works with BLB&B to protect and grow its investments, ensuring financial stability for a scholarship commitment. And Cliff is also well-versed in EITC and OSTC from the individual perspective as well. So thank you, Cliff, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Latifa Lucky is owner and an accountant of bookkeeping and consulting made easy. Latifa serves on our board of directors and is a current CSFP parent. Her daughter, Jordan, has been in our program since first grade, and she's currently wrapping up her 7th grade year at her CSFP school. So welcome, Latifa.
Thank you.
So Latifa, I'm going to invite you to kick us off and say a few words about your experience with CSFP from the parent perspective.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just going to give you a little tidbit on how the program has impacted myself and my daughter personally. I remember the day I actually got the call. I was part of the spring drawing when they actually did give me a call. I was headed home. It had actually been after me receiving news that past November that I would have to come out of work permanently. It was very hard for me to accept. I was at the peak of my career and I had to give everything up at that time. And one of the things that I was very adamant about is not sacrificing my daughter's education. And I certainly was hoping that I would get the scholarship because I knew that that would help out a tremendous deal. So I got the call and I was very ecstatic, and it just really changed things for us, for her to be able to maintain a good education at one of the private schools that's in the area in which we live. Also, being part of the CSFP community has allowed my daughter Jordan to be able to explore and pursue some of her passions in drama and acting. She's pretty shy at times, but she really enjoys doing both of those things. And the way that she got the opportunity to really explore things is through CSFP. They had offered their CSFP recipients the ability to become part of the Man Center program. And I applied for that for Jordan, which if it wasn't for CSFP, she wouldn't have got in, because I would have never even known about such a fellowship program that they had. And the program allows her to be able to do different areas of the arts, which includes drama, acting, some drawing as well, music and dance. And all of those areas we hit since being in the program 3 years ago. In addition to that, beyond just the scholarship, I was able to build a network myself with meeting different individuals from different organizations through CSFP. And Read by Fourth was one of them, being able to become a part of that organization and help out with kids throughout the city of Philadelphia, being able to provide books for them. We would put up book nooks in different areas throughout the city, in stores, maybe laundromats, things like that, collect books to be able to just give out to businesses who wanted to have them in there for their children. And also Jordan was able to access some other programs through children's scholarships, such as the summer camps. Like this year, she is actually attending St. Joe's Prep summer camp. And I was able to be able to get her in that program through children's scholarship. And they also offer things like summer reads, which I think is really important to continue to keep our children active throughout the school year and even over the summer. Lastly, with saying all of that, the reason why it is important to make your tax dollar work better for our community. Our children really need this. And these programs give families their voice in their children's education.
Thank you, Latifa. I'm so glad that Jordan has benefited so much from CSFP, both academically and then through some of the additional programming that we offer. And I'm really glad that we now get to fully experience your leadership. You're a parent leader, but you are also, in addition, now a leader of the organization on our board of directors. So happy to have your voice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well.
Okay, so I'm now going to turn it over to Joe and ask him to speak to his experience with the tax credit program and how it has allowed SCI to meet its philanthropic goal.
Thank you, Keisha. Yeah, at SCI, we have a philanthropic program called SCI Cares, and it's an employee organized program. It was really in response to the 9/11 tragedy. Our employees wanted to make a statement of assistance and help coming off of that. So the SCI Cares program was born out of that. And one of the foundational elements of SCI Cares was early identified as helping children and their educational opportunities. So an early partner of ours was CSFP. Once we identified what their mission was, it was right in the wheelhouse of what we were trying to accomplish through SCI Cares. So since 2003, we've been an active partner. We provided about $400,000 in support for about 245 scholarships to date. So we hope to keep that going. And it's really helped us to grow our culture. We know our culture is helping our employees pursue their passions. Their passions are making a difference for our clients, which goes right to our bottom line, which we love. But it also, it's making a difference in their families and in their community. That's where our culture is right now. So helping out CSFP not only in the financial support through EITC, but also being able to provide opportunities for our employees to pursue their passions. That could be going to the student award ceremonies, helping out with organizing that event. It could be helping out, working the phones on lottery day, or it could be walking around the neighborhoods on MLK Service Day and passing out applications. So we've been able to do a variety of different opportunities with CSFP for, that we can offer to our employees. And we've had real good success with our employees in engaging with CSFP. So it's helping out, again, build out our culture of being a good community partner. And we've had a lot of success with it. And I served as treasurer of the SEI Cares board early on. And I've been in those meetings with our CFO. And when we ask him for our, can we spend X amount in charitable donations? And it's an easy conversation once we talk about the impact that CSFP has on the community. Some of these meetings can be a little contentious, but that's an easy conversation for us. So, but one of the items that comes across a lot of times is, okay, can we get some sweat equity? Can we not just mail a check? And we also put some man hours behind this? And again, through the work of the CSFP staff and in crafting opportunities for our employees, we'll be able to do that.
Thank you, Joe. And I'm just so glad to hear that SCI has been able to support our students, but also that we've been able to share opportunities through volunteerism. That's just as important. So thank you for your partnership, both from the corporate perspective and from you personally.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And so Megan Staples, our Director of Development, is now going to talk a little more in detail about our program.
Thank you, Keisha. As everyone mentioned, and the state of Pennsylvania offers these two key incentives for businesses to reinvest their tax dollars in education, the EITC and the OSTC. And I just want to thank all of our new friends and our current supporters for being here today. This is a program that really excites me because we're able to benefit our supporters. We try to as much as they benefit ours, because it's a really transformational program for us. So EITC and OSTC is most popularly known for corporate participation, like Joe and SEI. So when a company applies for these credits and is approved by Pennsylvania, state tax credits in the amount of 90% of their contribution if these corporations give for 2 years. If you're interested in learning more about how your company can participate, please let me know, and I'm happy to follow up because the application process is already underway. So the state also provides a means for individuals like you to participate in this program. An individual can join a CSFP managed special purpose entity. And for the sake of this conversation today, we'll call them our LLCs because that's how they're incorporated. We manage and apply each year, just like corporations do, for these approved tax credits. And these LLCs are actually the only way that individuals can realize personal PA tax credits in return for your scholarship donations. So you contribute to these LLCs and you receive, with our help, pass-through personal tax credits in return. Now, actually, companies who aren't approved or waitlisted or maybe didn't know about the application deadline can also give through this vehicle. It just requires a couple of extra steps. And again, if you know anyone interested, happy to talk to them after this conversation. On this slide, you'll see a broad span list of eligibility. But the most important aspect is to know if you have a PA tax liability, corporate or individual, there's a good likelihood that you're eligible for this program. My colleagues will be circulating a helpful takeaway after this document with more information, and you'll also have my contact information to ask any questions. So CSFP has been a part of this EIT OSTC program since its founding in 2001. And these education tax incentives have been transformational for both our work and for our students and families. You can go to the next slide. So tax credits equal 90% of the donated amount and lower your state taxes dollar for dollar up to 90%. That's such a great incentive that the state provides for supporting educational access. For new members and existing members, we ask that you pledge to give over 2 consecutive years. Our suggested minimum contribution is $2,500 per year, and this allows all of the members to take full advantage of the state's incentives. By investing in us, we commit fully to managing the details for you every year. Larry, who you'll hear from shortly, and his firm Lemore Goodman are crucial partners of CSFP to make sure that our paperwork is accurate and submitted on time to you and to the state. Personally, this is my first full year of being Director of Development, and I couldn't have done it without our leadership team and Larry. So I know that you're in good hands. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. We have such a great family of CSFP supporters, and they've also been really helpful expanding our program. Currently, we have 38 active members that donate directly to CSFP, and almost half of these members have been contributing for over 6 years, a lot of which are on the call today, so thank you. Each year, this family of supporters contributes over $1 million in scholarship donations, which is incredible. Many of our participating members are also part of companies that contribute through EITC and OSTC outright. So it's a wonderful full circle. The current range of gifts to our LLCs span anywhere from the suggested minimum of $2,500 up to $250,000. And we're also committed to being flexible based on your tax liability should you be interested in coming on board with CSFP. We're also growing. This year, we're applying for more available credits. We're applying for more LLCs, and we look forward to welcoming more and more members to our family. You can go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So how does this work? What is the process? In the next 2.5 months, there are a few simple steps each new member will take to join our LLCs. Namely, today, tomorrow, in the near future, if you're interested, estimate your PA tax liability for this year and next to determine the amount of credits that you may want and you may want to pledge to give. Work with your accountant or your advisor. And they are also available to contact us. CSFP reapplies for each LLC each year. We actually just did that last month. And then we typically receive our approval letters from the state in the fall. After our LLCs are approved, we suggest that you complete your LLC membership agreement as soon as you can. Typically, the state requires that all gifts are made within 60 days of approval. But this year, because of the extension of the CARES Act, you actually have until December to complete both your agreement and your qualifying gift. Any questions, again, we will have time at the end. I'm happy to answer them or one-off after this meeting. But I'm really excited now to hand over the conversation to Cliff to lend his expertise and advice. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. They told me I get 5 minutes, and I said, but I could talk on this for an hour. I mean, there's a lot going on in this program, and it's easy to be overwhelmed by some of the details, but CSFP makes it so easy that you don't have to get mired in the weeds with it. A little bit of background. I grew up in rural North Dakota, and I didn't even know there were parochial or private schools until I came out here to go to college, and I was amazed to discover this rich tapestry of independent and parochial education options that existed. And the idea that a parent has the ability to find a school where their child can find success was just completely mind expanding to me. And I've been involved in the independent education space ever since. And EITC has been a big part of that. In addition to the work I do at BLBB, helping families make better financial decisions, I also chair the finance committee at the Meadowbrook School, which is a partner of CSFP. And I see firsthand how these dollars impact both the recipients and the school. You know, if you think about it, a gift to CSFP through the EITC program, not only are you getting a 90% tax credit, so your cost is pennies on the dollar, those dollars actually get used twice. right? The students get a scholarship. They get out of a school where they're not likely to find success, and they get access to those amazing statistics that Keisha shared with us a few minutes ago. And the school itself gets that tuition revenue that strengthens the school. That buys new textbooks, it buys new STEM technology, it expands curriculum to meet our changing society and changing society expectations. So those dollars that you're contributing not only aren't costing you much, they're helping the student and they're helping the school. They're really getting used twice. And I was just amazed at the things that Jordan has been exposed to as a result of receiving a CSFP scholarship. So I think it speaks volumes to the power of this program. There is one little hiccup you have to think about as a potential donor, and that's cash flow. You're making a contribution to one of CSFP's LLCs sometime during the 2021 calendar year. You're getting that K-1 in March of 2022. You're filing your Pennsylvania return in April of 2022. And Pennsylvania, they're not in a real rush to get these refunds back to you. You're going to get your Pennsylvania refund that puts the money back into your bank account sometime later in 2022. So while the actual out-of-pocket cost at the end of the day is nominal, there is a cash flow timing issue that you have to plan for a little bit as a donor. My wife and I have been donors for years. I've twisted the arms of my business partners to get them to donate to this program. I think anyone that is eligible and cares at all about the success of our young people or the success of our independent and parochial schools really does need to be invested in this program. I would love to talk to all of you or any of you more about the program, but from both an individual perspective, a student recipient perspective, and a school perspective, this program is absolutely wonderful. And if you're even faintly considering it, I can't endorse it highly enough. I'm going to turn it over to Larry, who's going to do the thing that all my clients say when I talk to them about this program. They say, I've got to talk to my accountant. And my answer is, I already did, and he loves the program, but they still want to hear it from the CPA. So Larry?
Okay. Well, like Nike, just do it. This is a great program. And one of the things that I love about this organization is you know where the dollars are specifically going. It doesn't go into a black hole, doesn't go for a lot of G&A. It actually goes to the students. And we've seen that year in and year out as we do the audits for the organization. And I just wanted to go to one item that you just brought up. You talked about cash flow considerations. So if you're a W-2 employee, yes, you do have to wait for the refund to get back on your taxes. If you're paying estimated taxes, you just need to reduce the estimated taxes that you make throughout the year, and that way you don't fall behind at all. If you looked at the prior slides that Megan had put up, the process is pretty simple. You contribute money to CFP, one of their special funds, these LLCs. You become a member of the LLC, and then at the end of the year, we then get to send you a K-1, which will have a federal tax deduction and a state tax deduction. When anybody was talking about these illustrations prior to this, you also have to realize you will get a federal tax deduction on part of the money. For the example that's up on the screen, if you give $5,000, yes, you will get a 90% tax credit on your PA tax return. You will either be able to reduce your state estimates or you have to wait for a refund to come back in the prior year. Unfortunately, Pennsylvania is a flat tax state, so you don't have any wiggle room when money's coming out of a W-2 paycheck. But you also have to realize that while you're getting a 90% deduction or credit on the Pennsylvania tax return, you're also able to get a federal tax deduction as long as you can itemize your deductions. If you can't itemize your deductions, you don't get any benefit. But on the $5,000 example here, if you're in the 32% federal tax bracket, you're going to get $160 tax savings on your federal return, which means if you donate $5,000 based upon this example, your really out of pocket is minimal. So this whole project is a no-brainer because you're helping these kids out, you're furthering society, and you're doing a general good across the board. So I can't encourage it more. Tax-wise, you come out ahead. The forms that are on the screen are the Pennsylvania K-1 that you get, and you can see that there's a $4,500 tax credit that comes right off your tax return. On the federal tax return, you'll get a $500 extra deduction on your return. And the out-of-pocket, when all is said and done, is very minimal to help these children and further the Children's Scholarship Fund. I think everybody should be doing this. I think you should tell your friends and family. It's just a great way to benefit the children in the city of Philadelphia and to help further their careers. When you heard Latifah talk at the beginning, her child has been able to really succeed because of this. And it's very beneficial. We've had clients, even though the program is done by a random draw, we've had clients who have been very successful and have been part of this program. Can't encourage it enough, and happy to answer any specific questions, but it's a very simple process. That's about all I can key in right now.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you breaking down that example. I hope that folks who are new to the program will see from the example you shared how straightforward and how easy this process is. And thank you to Cliff for explaining the cash flow considerations that you have to make. And we'll be a little patient with the state of Pennsylvania. I personally joined one of our LLCs last year, so I'm experiencing the process for the first time this year. So that was a good reminder. Thank you, Cliff. But I'll tell you that when I got back my forms and finished my taxes and learned that I was getting a Pennsylvania tax credit almost the full amount of what my donation was, I said to myself, okay, I can wait however long it has to be. But I saw stars when I saw the fact that I've supported a few scholarships and I'm also receiving a tax credit. So it's a no-brainer, win-win program. And I hope, Larry, as you said, that everyone will join. All right, so that is our presentation, and we really wanted to leave some time to be able to ask some questions of our experts. So I invite folks in the audience to jump in and ask your question, and any of our panelists who want to provide some feedback and answer those questions, please go ahead and jump in.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much, Keisha and team, for putting this together. This has been fantastic. I guess I have two questions. So number one, is there, I know you had identified Children's Scholarship Fund has a $2,500 minimum. Is it, from a tax liability perspective, is there a maximum that you can contribute either to CSFP or another approved organization?
Thank you. This is Megan. I'm happy to answer that question. Thanks, Kara. So for corporations, the maximum contribution is slightly over $833,000, which would equate to $750,000 in tax credits. For individuals, specifically to CSFP, it would be the amount of approved credits that we have available per our applications across each of the 4 and hopefully more entities that we have this year. So for individuals, it would require a simple consultation with me or Kevin or with Keisha to determine the best path forward for you. As I mentioned, right now we have up to $250,000 as the gift level for individuals. However, we have more than that in available credits. So there's definitely a lot of flexibility.
I would also feed in there, you would want to look at what your Pennsylvania tax liability is and try to gauge it within that realm. You don't want to contribute more than you can get back for your tax liability, because then that might not work in your favor.
Sure.
Excellent point. Yep.
Okay.
Well,
I also had a second question. I know that, and I should know this because PNC has participated in the EITC OSTC program for a long time. I know companies and then the I guess LLCs have to apply to the state, and CSFP, you're managing that for the LLCs to be able to participate. But are the LLCs and corporations, are they, I guess, fighting for the same pot of money, or are they separate state funds that companies and LLCs are eligible to access?
I can kick off the answer to that question, but I invite any panelists to join in who have experience as well. So the LLCs do operate very similarly to the corporations who apply for these credits. So we are listed alongside PNC and SCI, the names of our LLCs, as contributing or participating corporations. So to use your word competing, yes, we definitely throw our hat into the ring every year. Our LLCs are longstanding, so we have similar seniority to companies like yours, Kara, or companies like Joe's, and we're very careful about how we apply for new opportunities, knowing how popular this program is and the limitation with the availability of credits across the state. Does that answer your question?
Megan, I'll just add that there is a limited pool of credits available. There is more interest in this program than there are credits. And one of the reasons to work with CSFP is that they handle all of the deadlines and timing and credits, and they have a whole pool of LLCs. And as an individual, it doesn't matter which LLC you end up in, there just needs to be space in one of them for you. Whereas when you're going direct as a company, you've got to get in line, your application has to be in at midnight of the right day, and you still may not get it because, as Megan mentioned, there is a seniority system here where prior year credit recipients get in line before current year new credit recipients. So as an individual, your only concern is that you can find an LLC that has room for you. And the best way to do that is to express your interest early in the year. Funding isn't due until late in the year, but to the extent that you can do any tax planning yourself or with your CPA, get in line at the beginning of the year. Let Megan know you're going to make that commitment, and then you can actually step up with the funds more towards the end of the year when you know you have a reserved spot.
Thank you, Cliff. Did that answer your question, Kara?
It does. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. I want to jump in just for 1 second. I saw in the chat that we have Councilmember Derek Green's office joining us today. So really appreciative that one of our council members is interested in CSFP and interested in learning more about us. So thank you so much for participating, and please send my fellow Wahoo my greetings and my best.
Virginia, you know that I will.
Thank you. Also, I have a question in the chat, and that is, Cliff and Larry, can you give any advice about how to best predict your personal tax liability?
For most people, the best way to predict it is to look at last year's return. Most of us don't see a lot of variability. It's harder with business owners. And in fact, with business owners, one way we see this program used a lot is at the sale of a business. When there's a significant Pennsylvania tax liability, you can make a real difference in a bunch of people's lives using a program like this. But typically speaking, we look at last year's liability, we make any adjustments, and we go from there. Before I turn it over to Larry, I will say that one thing we see a lot of donors do is they will actually make a larger gift to EITC than their liability. They do the math, they work backwards, they make sure that the 90% credit covers 100% of their Pennsylvania tax liability. They take the federal deduction on the overage, and they would have given the money to the school anyway. So it's a great way to you can use this program to zero out your Pennsylvania tax liability. Larry, any thoughts?
It's a ditto. It's just you have to do a projection and do the what ifs and think about how your year is changing, and then forecast what your liability is going to be, and that way you can gauge where you'll be with your contribution. And you're right, if there's an overage, it goes against your federal return. And if you live in a state like Florida and don't have any state tax deduction, then the whole amount that you contributed to Children's Scholarship Fund goes on your federal return.
Okay, thank you both. Are there any other questions?
I actually have a question. So I'm Julie Gunderson, and I'm actually on the 20th anniversary committee. So my husband and I have been contributors to CSFP. And I don't want to get into the weeds on it, but as I'm thinking through the deductibility with SALTs now at the $10,000 limit on state and local taxes. So when we are actually applying the CSFP donation as a federal tax deduction, are you essentially, like in some way, almost you're getting your $10,000 SALT limit, but then you're also getting the federal deduction on the donation? So in some ways, does it enable people to almost maximize their state tax deduction beyond, or state and local tax deduction beyond the SALT limit that's now been imposed?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
They're separate and distinct.
Okay.
The state and local taxes are a different line item. We're talking about the charitable deduction line item. So you have to be able to get over the standard deduction in order to be able to get a federal deduction.
Okay, so as long as you're getting over the 24,000, right? Is that the
Yes, that's married filing jointly.
okay? Then you're
or
okay.
less, half of that if you're single. Yes, then you get the benefit of it.
Right, but you have to get to the point of itemizing.
Right, that's correct.
All right.
Other strategies to employ with charitable contributions, doubling up, doing other kinds of setting up charitable plans. But yes, you have to get above the standard deduction to get any kind of benefit.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question, Julie. Any other questions?
I have another great question from the chat. I imagine this would be for Larry. Can you briefly explain the difference between deduction and credit?
Well, a credit is a dollar for dollar amount to reduce your taxes. A deduction reduces your taxable income from which the taxes are calculated on. So again, going back to the Children's Scholarship Fund contribution, I'm going to use 10,000 because it's easier for me. You get $10,000 contribution, $9,000 gets as a credit, a dollar for dollar reduction on the taxes that are owed on your Pennsylvania return. $1,000, let's say, would be a charitable contribution on your federal return. And that would be a deduction to reduce your taxable income from which the taxes are then calculated on. Hope that was sort of clear.
We like credits a lot better than we like deductions.
That's correct.
So in Larry's slide, there was a $5,000 gift. You got a $4,500 credit. So that reduced your tax bill by $4,500. You got a $500 federal deduction. And in Larry's 32% example, that reduced your federal taxes by $160. And that's how we got to the net program cost of $340, which gives two other children the kinds of experiences Jordan's had.
Better said.
Megan, I see Cindy has a question in the chat too.
Both excellently said. Cindy's question is it possible to earmark what school would benefit from the credit? Would they encourage their eligible students to enter your lottery? So this is a really popular question. And right now, the way that we're set up, and Keisha, please chime in anytime, is that we do encourage folks to consider contributing to CSFP in a way that's undesignated, because part of our values is that the parents and the students can find and select a school that best meets their need. However, there is, yes, the option to designate within one of our 160 partner schools, and that's an individual conversation that we'll have with you as the donor to make sure that we're also meeting your needs and your priorities with the schools that you love. We do allow students to apply for the school of that meets their needs. So we cannot guarantee that the full amount of your contribution will equal the full amount of the tuition dollars that we provide to that designated partner school each year.
Hi, yeah.
Hi, listen, I just wanted to tell you I'm on the
Yeah, me too.
Hi. Could we ask everyone to mute if you're not a speaker, please? Thank you.
So sorry, but we will make sure that up to the full amount of tuition dollars designated for those schools through the active students that we have will come from your donation and will be in your honor. There are some specifics around that, but again, I highly recommend you setting up some time with me and with Keisha and Kevin, and we can walk you through that process. We love participating with our partner schools. I have a lot of professional friends that are development directors of our partner schools, and it's definitely a conversation that we're happy to have with you.
All right, thank you, Megan, and thank you, Cindy, for your question. Are there any other questions? We got some good ones out. Okay. Well, hopefully we have thoroughly explained the program today. Our panelists have been awesome at showing us both the impact on our students and families, as well as the ease and the benefits of giving through tax credits to CSFP. So I want to thank all of our panelists, Cliff, Larry, Latifa, and Joe, for your time today, your insight, and also want to thank everyone who joined us today. If you are new to CSFP and you are interested in learning more, please make sure to reach out to Megan Staples, and she's at mstaples@csfphiladelphia.org. We also want to make sure that there it is, perfect. We also want to make sure that everyone knows that we take this show on the road. So we are happy to do a presentation. You're off the hook, panelists, but Megan, Kevin, and I will do a presentation to a group of individuals, your friends, your colleagues at work. We have about a 30-minute presentation on our tax credit program, and we are happy to share it with the ease of Zoom. So please do keep that in mind. And just in closing, please remember that every student deserves a quality education, regardless of zip code or household income. And that is how we provide hope, opportunity, and success through scholarships. So thank you if you're already joining us in that mission. And if not, we hope that you will join us soon. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
Bye-bye.